First story, man. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the mess I'm in right now. Let me break it down for you. I'm a 44-year-old guy, and just recently, I got hit with some devastating news. Turns out my 39-year-old wife has been cheating on me. Yeah, it felt like a sledgehammer to the chest when my 14-year-old daughter dropped that bombshell about her affair. I've been putting on a brave face for my daughter's sake, trying to reassure her that everything's okay and that her mom and I will figure things out. But deep down, I'm torn. Part of me is considering telling my daughter that her mom and I have an open relationship, just to spare her the pain of thinking her mom straight up cheated on me. My wife's been crashing at her parents' place and barely says a word to me. I get it, though. How could she even look me in the eye after what she did, right? Maybe if I confront her about the affair, she'll realize the mess she's made and come back home. We had a good thing going. It's just hard to make sense of it all. I feel like I'm walking through a fog, man. Just going through the motions, feeling numb. I thought I had my life figured out. But now, here I am, sounding like one of those characters in the movies trying to work through infidelity. I used to think they were delusional, but now I'm right there with them. So far, from what I've seen, it's just been emotional stuff and sending explicit photos. But my daughter found a whole bunch of pictures, and I've only seen a few of them. There's like 30 more, but I'm scared to even look at them. I don't know if I can handle finding out she's been at this for a while. And then there's my daughters, man. I don't want to hurt them. They're my whole world. I've been putting on a front, only eating when my daughters are around, so they think everything's fine. But when I'm alone, I feel sick to my stomach and shaky. This isn't just some petty drama. This is the woman I've built my life with. It's like my whole world's been turned upside down. And then there's this other bombshell. The DNA test results came back, and it's brutal. The twins and the newborn aren't biologically mine. Can you believe that? I've been their dad for 5 years, man. Every time I hear them laugh or see them smile, it's like they light up my whole world. It might sound silly, but I really care about those girls. I finally mustered up the courage to confront my wife about the affair, and while she says she's sorry, she doesn't regret it because she's in love with the other guy. And get this, her parents knew about the affair way before I did. They were actually helping them hook up, letting my wife and her fling meet at their place. It's insane, man. Her parents didn't want to deal with the fallout, especially considering their big role in the church. And they didn't want to disrupt the twins' relationship with their biological dad. Can you believe that? It's like screw them, screw my wife, and screw her parents, man. I always had a feeling they were jerks. Right now, my daughters are staying with my brother and his wife because I can't handle it. They're mad at their mom and won't even talk to her. They're getting therapy to help them deal, but it's rough, man. I tried to take the twins with me, but my wife put up a fight, begging me not to take them. And get this, her fling is on his way to her parents' place right now. It's like they're just flaunting it in my face. I've cut off all contact with my wife. She's blowing up my phone, but I'm not giving her the time of day. And you know what? It feels kind of good seeing her desperate to talk to me. I don't even know what she wants, and honestly, I don't care. I've been a wreck, man. Going to work is a struggle, and I can't even bring myself to do the groceries anymore. People are whispering and staring, and I've lost like 15 pounds since this whole thing started. It's like I can't sleep, and therapy isn't doing much to help. This has got to be the worst year of my life, man. Sometimes I wish I never found out about any of this. I should be at home, surrounded by my girls, living the dream. But instead, it's just cold and quiet, and I feel like I've lost everything. It's like I'm not even a man anymore. It's like I'm not even human. This raw and unfiltered account captures the anguish and turmoil of a man grappling with betrayal and loss, navigating the complexities of love, family, and personal identity in the wake of a devastating revelation. I finally gathered up the courage to confront my wife about the affair, and let me tell you, it was rough. She said she's sorry, but deep down, I can tell she doesn't regret it because she's fallen for the other guy. And here's the kicker, her parents were in on it way before I even had a clue. They were practically setting them up, letting my wife and her fling meet up at their place. It's crazy, man. Her parents didn't want to deal with the fallout, especially with their prominent role in the church. And they didn't want to mess with the twins' relationship with their biological dad. Can you believe that? It's like Screw them, screw my wife, and screw her parents. I always had a gut feeling they were no good. Right now, my daughters are staying with my brother and his wife because I just can't handle it all. They're furious with their mom and won't even talk to her. They're getting therapy to help them cope, but it's a tough road, man. I tried to take the twins with me, but my wife put up a fight, practically begging me not to take them. And guess what? Her fling is on his way to her parents' place right now. It's like they're rubbing it in my face. I've completely cut off contact with my wife. She's blowing up my phone, but I'm not giving her the time of day. And you know what? It's kind of satisfying to see her desperate to talk to me. I don't even know what she wants, and honestly, I don't care. I've been a total wreck, man. Going to work feels like climbing a mountain, and I can't even bring myself to do the simplest things like groceries anymore. People are whispering and staring, and I've dropped like 15 pounds since this whole nightmare started. It's like I can't sleep, and therapy isn't doing much to ease the pain. This has got to be the worst year of my life, man. Sometimes I wish I never found out about any of this. I should be at home, surrounded by my girls, living the dream. But instead, it's just cold and quiet, and I feel like I've lost everything. It's like I'm not even a man anymore, you know? It's like I'm not even human. Update, man, let me tell you, it's been one heck of a journey. I felt like I was stuck in a never-ending maze of soul searching and regret, with no light at the end of the tunnel. But then something shifted. It was like a sudden revelation, a light bulb moment. I realized that life doesn't have to end here. My life doesn't have to be defined by my failures, my shattered marriage, or my wife's betrayal. Nah, I'm more than that. It hit me like a ton of bricks when I discovered that my wife wasn't who I thought she was. Instead of honoring her vows, she turned her parents' house into a love nest with her affair partner. And her parents? Man, I thought they were on our side, but they were just as guilty, enabling her affair and providing them a place to carry on with their deception. After everything unraveled, divorce was the only option. I fought tooth and nail for custody of my two daughters, and I won. We packed up our lives, changed our numbers, and made a fresh start in a whole new state. I wanted to give my girls a clean slate, away from all the drama and the painful memories of their mom's betrayal. Life has been on the upswing since then. I've been rebuilding, one step at a time. I made sure our new home was a safe haven filled with love for my daughters. I threw myself into work, immersing myself in it, and gradually, the pain started to fade away. My girls resumed school, and we began to find our rhythm again. Meanwhile, I heard through the grapevine that my ex was going through a rough patch. She was left to deal with the twins and a newborn on her own, her affair partner nowhere to be found after the divorce. She had to move back in with her parents, and she was trying to track me down. But I had moved on, man. I made a conscious decision not to allow her back into my life. She needed to face the consequences of her actions. I have to admit, there was a part of me that found a sense of satisfaction in seeing her struggle. You know, looking back on it all, I can't help but think she brought this whole mess on herself. But then reality hits me square in the face. The kids. They're the ones caught in the crossfire. Innocent little bystanders in this whole circus. But I gotta remind myself, they ain't my responsibility. That burden falls on their dad, the guy she picked over our family. Getting past that betrayal? Man, let me tell you, it wasn't no walk in the park. But every day, I found a bit more of that inner strength. Watching my daughters grow into these tough, resilient young women, that's what kept me going. Through all the chaos, I was their rock. And seeing them happy? Well, that's what makes it all worth it. Funny thing is, when all's said and done, I realized I wasn't the one coming out of this mess empty-handed. Nah, I stumbled onto something way more valuable. I tapped into this reservoir of strength I didn't even know I had, grabbed onto my peace of mind, and decided to live life on my own terms. My ex's betrayal? It didn't break me, it made me stronger, smarter. And right now, as I sit here in our new place, listening to my girls' laughter filling up the room, I realize something. I'm far from being beaten down. In fact, I'm feeling more like a man than ever, toughened up, sharper, and ready to take whatever life throws at me. This is my reality now. And let me tell you, it's a reality I wouldn't trade for anything in the world. Second story, all right. Buckle up, folks. We're diving deep into the twists and turns of a roller coaster ride that's got more loops than a pretzel factory. This is the story of me and my wife, a tale that spans over a decade and a half, filled with highs, lows, and enough drama to make a soap opera writer blush. So, let's start at the beginning, shall we? Me and the missus, we've been joined at the hip since our high school days. We walked those hallowed halls together, endured the trials and tribulations of adolescence side by side. And when it came time for college, we didn't skip a beat, packed our bags, and hit the books together, like two peas in a pod. Fast forward a few years, and we're knee-deep in the trenches of professional school, grinding away with the tenacity of a pair of bulldozers. We had each other's backs through the late-night study sessions, the nerve-wracking exams, and the occasional existential crisis. And now here we stand, on the precipice of the final leg of our journey, postgraduate training. 8 years of marriage under our belts, 15 years of being a dynamic duo. It's the kind of bond that's forged in the fires of shared experience, tested by time, and strengthened by love. But little did we know, a storm was brewing on the horizon, ready to upend everything we thought we knew. You see, I recently wrapped up my training gig a bit ahead of her. And let me tell you, what came next was like winning the lottery, getting struck by lightning, and finding a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow all rolled into one. I scored this massive contract that's set to catapult my salary into the stratosphere, like 5 to 6 times what I'm making right now. We're talking about upgrading our lifestyle from ramen noodles to caviar dreams, baby. But here's the kicker. My wife's still got a couple more years to go before she hits a similar milestone in her career. We were on the cusp of finally reaping the rewards of all those years of hustling and supporting each other, ready to dive headfirst into a life of luxury and leisure. But little did we know, the universe had other plans in store for us. About a month back, my wife drops a bombshell on me that rattles me to my core. She's feeling some kind of pull towards a female coworker and close friend of hers, a whole new frontier she's never explored before. Now, I gotta admit, it caught me off guard, like finding a unicorn in your backyard, or discovering Atlantis at the bottom of your morning coffee. But here's where things get real interesting. We'd had our fair share of conversations about the idea of opening up our marriage in the past, like discussing the merits of pineapple on pizza or the existence of aliens. So when she suggests a conditional open marriage, I'm willing to entertain the notion, curious to see where it might lead. We sit down, lay out some ground rules, make sure our marriage remains the top priority amidst the chaos of new experiences and emotions. And let me tell you, it ain't easy. Navigating uncharted waters never is. But I'm willing to do whatever it takes to support her, to see her happy and fulfilled, even if it means facing my own fears and insecurities head on. But then, things take a turn for the worse. Suspicions start gnawing at me, doubts creep into my mind like unwelcome guests at a dinner party. And before I know it, I find myself doing something I never thought I'd do, going through her phone in the dead of night, searching for answers in the digital ether. And what I find? Well, let's just say it's like stumbling upon a hornet's nest in the middle of a picnic. They'd been sneaking around behind my back, breaking our agreed-upon rules left and right, like a couple of teenagers trying to sneak into a movie theater without paying. It felt like a betrayal of the highest order, a sucker punch to the gut that left me reeling. But what hurt even more was realizing that my wife was the one leading the charge in their affair, orchestrating their clandestine rendezvous with the finesse of a seasoned conductor. It was like watching a train wreck in slow motion, powerless to stop the impending collision. Confronting her about it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, like trying to defuse a bomb with one hand tied behind my back. Watching her try to deny the undeniable, to spin a web of lies so intricate that even a spider would be impressed, it was soul-crushing, to say the least. And now, here I am, standing at a crossroads, staring down a path littered with broken dreams and shattered illusions. Every decision I've made as an adult has revolved around us, around our shared goals and aspirations. And now it feels like I'm standing on the edge of a cliff, wondering if I'll ever find solid ground again. But through it all, one thing remains clear. I deserve better than this. We deserve better than this. And whatever comes next, I'm determined to find my way back to a place of happiness and fulfillment, whether it's with her or on my own. So stay tuned, folks. The journey's far from over, and I've got a feeling the best is yet to come. But for now, I'll keep posting anonymously on this subreddit, trying to make sense of the most agonizing experience of my life. Because sometimes, the only way out is through, and I'm not about to back down from the challenge. Update. So, I had a sit down with the missus, a heart to heart about where we stand and what comes next. Turns out, there was a slim chance of patching things up, but she dropped a bomb on me. Her non-negotiable condition was that she keeps seeing her affair partner. And let me tell you, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. So I made the call. It's time to call it quits. Where we live, the law's got this whole rigmarole about a formal separation period, and we've just finished up the first draft of the paperwork. Gotta give her credit, though. She's been surprisingly agreeable about most of the stuff I've laid out for our divorce. I've tried to keep things fair but firm when it comes to divvying up our assets, and it looks like I'll be coming out on top financially. Plus, I'm snagging custody of our two furry companions, which is a win in my book. Now, she hasn't lawyered up yet, and unless some major issues rear their ugly heads, she's not planning to. But having legal backup definitely gives me a leg up in this whole mess. For now, we're still under the same roof, but we're keeping to separate quarters until we dot all the I's and cross all the T's on that final draft. After that, well, I'll be packing my bags and hitting the road. As for the job situation, I decided to pull the plug on that contract gig. No money had changed hands, and it was all before the official start date, so it was a relatively painless process. Sure, it was a decent opportunity, but there are plenty of other fish in the sea, and I'm already in talks with some recruiters. I'm thinking of exploring options that involve a bit of travel. Now that I'm footloose and fancy-free, why not, right? Completing all that separation paperwork really drove home the reality of the situation for both of us. And let me tell you, her narcissistic and manipulative tendencies, which I've mentioned before, made her think I'd never actually walk away. But surprise, surprise, I'm calling the shots now, and as soon as that separation period's up, I'll be filing for divorce faster than you can say irreconcilable differences. But you know what's been keeping me going through all this? The incredible support I've received from my friends and family. Both sides of the fence have been rallying behind me, and I've made a point to steer our discussions away from who did what and focus more on what went down. And let me tell you, the outpouring of kindness and generosity has been nothing short of amazing. In fact, some folks have even offered me a place to crash while I get back on my feet and figure out my next move. Talk about having a solid support network, right? One of my buddies even took me out on the town to play wingman and dip my toes back into the dating pool. And let me tell you, it's been a trip, literally and figuratively. But lately, I've been all about focusing on me, taking care of myself, hitting up therapy sessions, and rediscovering hobbies that got lost in the shuffle. And you know what? I'm feeling pretty damn optimistic about what lies ahead. The best days of my life might still be waiting just around the corner, and I'm grateful for every bit of support, from my loved ones to random strangers on the internet who've reached out to lend a helping hand.